Those familiar with the previous SteamWorld games probably know the drill by now. The fine folks at Thunderful select a well-worn subgenre, such as Metroidvania or card RPG or tactical strategy, create a game of that genre in their post-human SteamWorld universe inhabited by silly robots, and exhibit full mastery of their selected genre without adding much that's new. I'm both very pleased and a tad disappointed that the Station Interactive has managed to do this exact thing again with city builders in SteamWorld Build. As a veteran of city builder games, I found SteamWorld Build to be a delight that sucked me in for hours every sitting. Players will enter the wonderful land of SteamWorld that is equal parts ridiculous, intriguing, and endearing. If you've played any of the past entries in the franchise, such as SteamWorld Dig 1 and 2, SteamWorld Heist, or SteamWorld Quest, you'll be met with all the charm you expect when your prospecting family heads out to settle a new, empty land out in the desert to search for rocket parts that might help the last of the robots escape this post-apocalyptic world before we run out of resources. The premise of SteamWorld Build mechanically is quite similar to every other city builder. Begin with natural, untouched wilderness. Use those resources to build homes and offices and shops and factories, and automate one process so that you can turn your attention to a more complex one. Not many games have managed to break from the mold on this pattern, but I will acknowledge that the basics of colonialism are mechanically present in this genre in a way that feels inescapable. Still, it's interesting that by the time SteamWorld Build begins, we've exhausted the world's resources and are desperately digging into ancient ruins in search of tech that could help us escape our fate. Despite the dire circumstances of the world, SteamWorld Build retains the silliness and charm of the rest of the franchise the entire way through, from its characters to its cutscenes. After choosing one of the 5 maps, you're given the option of picking whether you'd like to engage with the story or not. This is actually a great idea. Of course, I played with the story on for my first campaign, but for future campaigns, the ability to turn off all the characters and cutscenes to just build from nothing is very enticing. There's also a sandbox mode, of course, if you'd like to model out your own town free of restrictions, but I recommend finishing a campaign first so you can understand the processes and resources needed to make each building work. You'll start with residences that can house basic workers, then you'll need to supply certain basic needs, such as a general store and service stations, to keep them happy. Meanwhile, you're harvesting wood and sand and converting that into lumber and glass, transporting your resources around town with the use of interconnected warehouses. The warehouses work perfectly to allow you to expand freely, since placing any warehouse near the woodcutter will get the supplies to the lumber mill no matter how far away it is. You can also freely move all buildings from one spot to another at no cost, which should be a baseline requirement for all modern city builders. I also was consistently running low on money, while I seemed to be able to balance other resources. The quickest way to earn more money is simply to build more houses and summon more residents, which I feel is really counterintuitive. Thankfully, all bots assign jobs to themselves, all the way from workers to scientists, because I would never have been able to comprehend controlling the thousands of workers my town ended up with individually. When you're running low on a resource, you can hit up the train station to set up a deal with a neighboring town. This saved my butt many times as I kept running low on sheet metal and tools, but I was able to keep the town running through purchased resources until I could establish my own sources. The train arrives and departs on scheduled times that you need to strategize around, which I found compelling. I've had a fantastic time with SteamWorld Build, and it is certainly ranked among my favorite city builder games. I anticipate I'll be replaying this one for several more campaigns. I don't feel that it offers much in the way of innovating on the genre and breaking the mold the way that my favorites Against the Storm and Airborne Kingdom did, and instead focuses on streamlining the city builder experience to make it as easy and accessible as possible. While SteamWorld Build on its face looks too complex for a total newbie, the easy-to-manage interface and clear, descriptive tutorials go a long way in making it more accessible than most other RTS games I've played. There's also a fun but unremarkable story with voice-acted scenes, but I think after finishing their first 7-hour campaign, most players won't be interested in leaving the story on for their next playthrough. SteamWorld Build has both thoroughly impressed me and been amazingly fun, and while I've got a few nitpicks, the complex and layered systems just work. I recommend SteamWorld Build to all, whether you're a city builder veteran looking for something new or just a SteamWorld fan ready to set your first foundation blocks down in a new genre. So what do you think about this game? Do you think this game is worth it or not? Let us know in the comments section.